Talk to you about science and literature from my perspective as a writer without credentials of any discipline. I propose to you a brief statement, kind of lyrical, without bibliography or quotations at the bottom of the page. A modest conversation between lovers of science and literature. A catalogue of the imagination. Science is for me, as Borges once said about theology, a branch of fantastic literature. Think about it. Creatures so small, which are not visible to human eye, psychic instances that hide order behind nonsense, portals that connect to regions of the universe apart by millions of light years, strings that make up all matter according to the melody that is imposed on them, cats dead and alive at the same time, holes with the digestive power that can swallow galaxies, sets of cells capable of understanding within themselves, having horizons for time to ellipse, so slow that if anyone could live months around them, then they return to Earth in 100 years will have passed. I have followed the history of scientists from Euclides to Kurt Gödel with an emotion similar to that which fantastic literature instills in me. I have read and enjoyed Carl Sagan, Stephen Hawking, Douglas Hofstadter, Roger Penrose, at the same level as Borges, Julio Cortázar, Italo Calvino, and Juan José Arreola. I think Albert Einstein resembled one of the great fictional characters, like Alonso Quijano, Raskolnikov, Macbeth. Einstein's life seems to me a creative plot, the work in the factory of patents, the taste for violin, the 3 great articles he published when he was 26, his controversial vision of space and time, his spectacular triumph against the skeptics with the solar eclipse in 1919, his sense of humor, his sentences, his anecdotes, disputes, and consecutive defeats against the new order established by the school of Copenhagen, and his quixotic falls against the blades of the quantum windmill. I like Voltaire's phrase, quote, "There was far more imagination in the head of Archimedes than in that of Homer," because he rescues for science equality very often attributed to the artists. I could not say if Einstein and Newton had more imagination than Boccaccio and Jonathan Swift, but I think at first artists and scientists proceed in the same way, imagining, discovering, and imagination. I have noticed that people do not take very seriously fantasy. They look at this as simple entertainment. The refrain that reality exceeds fiction is commonplace. A drama film or a novel is better valued if it commences with the infamous legend based on a true story. The writers need to invent credible stories, and in this regard, science has played in the favor. We do not see profuse skepticism when science speaks, even if it sounds really weird. It has occurred several times that inductive knowledge has crossed the boundaries of what we call common sense. Therefore, the paradigm of reality is not only changing in the scientific community, but also in the average citizen. Airwaves, infrared and ultraviolet rays, the sound of bats and dolphins, the double helix of DNA, the explosion of supernova stars are events so strange to everyday experience that if science had not printed in its letterhead on them, no one would believe them. Thanks to success of science in fields as varied as medicine, biology, physics, mathematics, its popularity is able to compete with religion and even with the virus. While there are countless phenomena that we can see for ourselves, there are many others that we accept only as an act of fate. I believe in gravity because inertia chains me to the floor like a feather. I have no such certainty with relativity theory and quantum mechanics. I cannot collect one of the photons which illuminate the chamber to prove light is a particle, nor can I walk at the speed of light to slow down the time and win a few extra days for my holiday in England. However, I blindly believe in relativity and the dual nature of light. If all of modern physics were a world plot, an invention of high growth for fun or to hide another reality or to establish a universal religion, neither I nor anyone without a license to drive a spacecraft or to shoot neutron guns could be in a position to clarify something. We are confronting a vision that has penetrated the more reluctant structures of what we consider logical and possible. Science is the postmodern religion. To paraphrase Dostoevsky, I would say, if relativity doesn't exist, absolutely everything is possible. Science has returned or failed in fantasy. Once upon a time, I read about a theory where each of the particles that make up the universe are tiny strings, 100 million billion times smaller than the nucleus of an atom. All of them equal. The difference between one and another was the way they vibrate. As the string of a guitar can vibrate at different frequencies to produce different sounds. The idea thrilled me as many decades before, and I closed the book where everything was already written to open imagination, which is a light book in motion. Curiously, a young girl who was sitting in front of me also closed the book. The coincidence suggests to me the argument of the story. What if everything we understand by existence were the vibration of an ontological string? Could it not be that sometimes it is tuned to the same melody? This happens in the story, and several of the characters suspected, although nobody realized. Only we, from our privileged position as readers. But curiously, if the story is read to my preference, the reader should also suspect that perhaps he and another reader are reading or thinking along the same lines, and then the level of fiction could be entering a stage of reality. The fantasy could disrupt the switch that tells us what is possible and what is not, and the effect would be, in the least, hesitation. If I could achieve this, I would be quite satisfied as a writer. That is the reason why I have relied on ideas which are more thrilling to me, philosophical and scientific consciousness, their uncertainty in principle, algorithms, genius, dreams, the otherness, fractals, madness, strings, chaos, the kind of ideas I could happily ruminate in a thumb during an infinite or transfinite time until everything is finished, either with the apocalypse or a big crunch. That's it, thank you.